Hello, friends. We are back for our 14th session of Class Dismissed. Class Dismissed using the Savage Worlds Suede Edition rule set. And East Texas University is the genre or setting for this particular Savage Worlds campaign. We are using Fantasy Grounds. We have OBS latched onto the side of that to provide recording capability. We have Discord providing the video feeds. A whole lot of tech going on here. And we cross our fingers that the internet or the World Wide Web or tech gremlins don't try to exert or assert their influence on us this evening, because we do like when the recordings just run nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. Shane Hensley and Clint Black, thank you once again for the Savage Worlds rule set, and also the Savage Worlds Adventures Deluxe Edition, or Suede, SWADE, Preston DeBose, Ed Wetterman. A big thank you for the East Texas University setting. Ed Wetterman, we just completed last rites of the Black Guard, a module from, 12 to midnight, and preceded East Texas University. I hope in some manner you've been able to catch at least a little bit of this. I think you'll enjoy seeing sort of the life that we just breathed in to this module, brought it right back, got several sessions of just fun play out of your hard work. And as is wont to do with a team, a group of players that are decisive and insightful and creative and imaginative, sort of zigged a little left when we zigged right, and went off the script a little bit to account for their innovation. But all in all, ran pretty close to the way the module was written. And again, many thanks. Duff, the owner of the Praetor's Rejects channels, both Twitch, YouTube, and just a good presence here on the interwebs. Duff, thank you so much for uploading our videos and making them available for consumption by interested YouTube viewers. And also, certainly I am not the first, and I'm pretty sure I won't be the last, but happy birthday this month. I believe starting sometime late this week or early next week, you really start your birthday week celebration. So a big happy 39th birthday, Duff. You don't look a day over 38. Corey, my friend, thank you for originally opting to run this East Texas University setting game. Thank you for exposing us to the setting. And it was my first immersion into Savage Worlds. I didn't really understand the rules until sometime later after that game had to close due to health reasons. Really had to dig in and see, could I possibly put together a campaign anywhere as near as fun, interesting, and mysterious. And a good combination of those three, riddles and trouble solving, combat, and role play. Could I mix it together the way that you did? And I hope I'm doing you justice. And Amai and Nightsteed, your artwork continues to amuse. Nightsteed, your back of the napkin drawings, even in the middle of play, never fail to bring a smile to my face. And Amai, the character art for our characters, for the little flip screen part of our OBS interface, and those between the adventure little cartoons and bits of artwork that serve as sort of a nice memory of some of the hijinks and shenanigans that the group has gotten into, continue to delight me. So let's get started, friends. Let me pull up the East Texas University book and let me flip to page 15, which is a number I will never forget because it is where the cursed effects table is for
You
one
like that one
Shep.
too much.
I do.
He does.
Between hacking, sneezing, coughing, and just generally feeling ill because of feeling under the weather condition, along with the body odor, and some of the ones are just minus one on notice rolls for the session. They just tend not to be as much fun, but I try to weave in a reason for such. I'm going to go to the card deck, which I understand is clipped off the bottom of the interface, but hopefully the card is visible to the viewers. Pops up a 9 of clubs, returns to the main deck. Oh, we've had this before. It's been a while though. Non-player character reactions are one step lower than normal for the session. That's why Jimmy Buck turned out to, well, he began more hostile than indifferent to you lot knocking on his open screen door at his trailer in the Quiet Villas retirement community. One step lower than normal. Neutral becomes uncooperative, etc. Hostile becomes an immediate fighting situation. How well we learned that. What are some of the high notes from last game? I understand there was some involvement with the police. You were questioned about the occurrences on the side of your rental house where you college students live. Turns out you ended up having to reclaim your backpacks and satchels down at the Pine Box police station, bereft of 3 books that you found in Frank Mance's house, or should I say, Franz Heimglimmer, from the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, a noted doctor and a man responsible, a devil responsible for just inhumane practice, torture, and death. The 3 books that you found in his house in quiet Pine Box, Texas, were missing from your backpacks. However, upon retrieving your backpacks, you did find, probably courtesy of Lisa Gray, Pine Box attorney, but probably more that nice gentleman from the Israeli embassy, um, Ira Ben David, helped to clear your names and to bring a quick end to any investigations into your involvement on the wrong side of the law, as you were indeed assaulted as you entered your yard. Sophia found a couple of tickets in an envelope to a local movie theater in downtown Pine Box, from that nice young gentleman, that nice math major named Larry, who lives next door. Let's see. Anybody else want to chime in? I'm hitting the high points. There are probably 1 or 2 other things that happened. Oh, I do remember a series of pride banners, pride flags, those rainbow flags, those approximate 4-foot by 6-foot rectangles with rainbow colors and little grommets inset in the 4 corners. Upon getting out of bed one morning, you found 4 such banners that didn't belong to any of you, that were strung almost like one long, cohesive rainbow from point to point in your sort of entrance foyer / living room. Unfortunately, one of the rainbow flags was upside down because it was missing the grommet in the upper corner, which would have let it match color band by color band the other. So one was inverted. Nevertheless, it looked very much like a rainbow, but one that started high, arced down, and then came back up on the other side. And most notably and strangely, well, I mean, the occurrence was strange any way you slice it, but the The flags were attached to 2 points. I believe one point was an alarm, like one of those little alarm speakers up on the wall, a smoke alarm. And at the other high point was the end, I think it's called a finial, the sort of cap on the end of your living room draperies. And attaching at those points and along attaching grommets of 2 adjoining banners or flags. They seem to be tied together with long strands of bright coppery red hair. That it's sort of, if you take, I would say, 8 to 10 long strands and sort of twist them together to make a string of some type, and then knotted that a few times to attach corner to corner. I guess 5 points, 1, 2, and then the 4 flags, 3, 4, 5 corners where they would meet. So that was unusual. And you did return those banners back to those owners who had lost them. 3 of them, I believe, you met face to face. The 4th one was out. So you simply slipped it into a 1-gallon Ziploc baggie with a note. Hey, we found these. They were sort of crumbled up and thrown in our yard. We got them before the rain started. Returning them to you. Is this one yours? That sort of thing. So that brought a quick closure, as there was some remarkably nasty thunderstorm-like weather moving in to Pine Box, Texas, and the region. So if anyone else wants to chime in, I'll give you a few moments. Anything I may have forgotten or you think deserves just a little more elucidation to help jog my memory, as well as each other's, and maybe any other questions you might have or loose ends that we have to tie up. I, as the saying goes, am all ears.
I think you covered everything.
We learned a few rituals.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
right.
We learned
that.
4
Yes.
rituals
Yeah, but that's not important.
from the little abuelita.
Right.
Yeah, we were getting to know our next door neighbor, which Ava is always very, very suspicious about.
Mm-hmm.
Because man.
Yeah. 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 He's a boy.
Many
Oh, he
Deserving.
seems okay. He wants to date Sophia, so I
Yeah.
mean, just means he's crazy.
okay.
Yeah.
Why would he be crazy? Why would you say that?
And
Don't
Shep,
be
I think that football helmet.
Sophia.
He loaned you or gave you a football helmet left by the previous
Hmm.
occupants of his college student rental home right next door. He gave you that sort of bright orange football helmet with the white stripes down both sides and that insignia of that buffalo or bison. It's probably saved your life on at least one, possibly 2 or more occasions
Yes.
as you lack
Especially,
a helmet.
oh yeah, especially with the motorcycle wrecks.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We did. It was probably 2, perhaps 3. It's hard to say because time flies so quickly. But we did do a sort of by the book suede chase scene, which I really enjoyed. Both the way that it flowed and the opportunities that the rules give you to resolve, to bring to
Hmm.
closure such chases. And just as an aside, since I am a, a benevolent sort of dean, or at least I like to couch myself as such. If any of you were curious as to what the figure was in Hector Martin's Blue Monte Carlo that was given him a small minus on his driving rolls, it was indeed the specter of Franz Heimglimmer or Frank Mans, as a shade given um, partial solid form, partially materialized, that from behind had wrapped a forearm around Hector's throat, and while could not express quite a bit of force, as that is beyond his capability in his um, not quite ectoplasmic form. It was enough. It was enough to frighten, just and scare and unnerve and influence
Yeah.
his driving skills just a tiny bit, because as a kind benevolent dean, I wanted to make the I wouldn't say that the chase scene was exactly fair. It was tilted against you. I wanted to even the odds in some small way. And talking about even the odds, let's bring up the character, the party sheet, and let's reset bennies. And I'm going to, of course, it's cropped from the bottom of the screen. I'm going to reduce my bennies so that I start off with one for each of the three of you. And with that said, because we ended with a goodly number of bennies last time, and right at the end there was a rash of just exceptional role playing, and you discovered the answer to a few of your problems, I'm going to give you an extra Benny. And Shep, I would be a not very kind, benevolent dean if I did not remember your lucky strike from your last exam, which indeed gave you an extra Benny. So Ava and Sophia start with 4. Shep starts with 4 plus 1. And I bumped you from 3 to 4, just 4. My recollection of the last game was I think I smiled more, laughed harder, chortled more resoundingly, and just thoroughly enjoyed that last session, especially the way that things came to a resolution. And there we start. Bennies have been set. Hindrances have paid their penalties, costs in some small way. Everybody's hooked up to the interface. What is it that you would like to do?
Resorting to my last notes, I see that Glenn Mack had a request for us to check out the science buildings because of paranormal happenings.
The Robert E. Lee Science and Engineering Building. Let's see how close I even came to that. The Robert E. Lee Engineering and Applied Sciences Building. Yes, indeed. Now, Glenn Mack, with the disappearance of his sidekick Jackson Green, who disappeared quite at the end of freshman year, he vanished under circumstances that were suspect and unusual, to put it lightly. I believe you found a few darts or quills by going into his rental trailer and pulling his sheer draperies aside one of the windows. You found 2 of those embedded in, well, let's see, it's a trailer, so it probably doesn't have drywall. It's more wall board, I think. And did find them, only to have them pickpocketed by whoever had carried them, carefully wrapped. So he disappeared in a hail of gunfire. There was some blood spatter in his unit, and he had not been seen or heard from since that. And just to make sure that I'm doing a good job in sort of revocalizing some of the things that have happened, you did receive a sort of black and white / sepia photograph of some young people and a gentleman who appeared to be a professor. And it said, "Keep it secret, keep it safe." Perhaps someone had read some Tolkien, I believe, is where that quote came from. But there were some names indicated on that photograph. In fact, Nina Castle was one of the blonde female students who was the ghost that had haunted the roost way back at the beginning of freshman year. She had died. She had been immolated right in the center of the basketball arena, causing the center portion of that basketball floor, that wooden floor, to be sanded and to have that large raven head, that iconic East Texas University raven, to be repainted before the next season could begin. So just sort of throwing some sort of loose ends and just making sure the continuity of the story flows. I know as a player I appreciate those small updates when they're dropped, just because it keeps things sort of fresh in the old frontal lobe, as it were. So the Robert E. Lee Engineering and Applied Sciences Building, indeed, tend to be the probably the next thing on the agenda, the number one item in the hopper, as it were. We'll say we just had our first midterm, and now we are indeed in sync. We had two timelines going as I jumped ahead, as we had just enough time to do a real good job running the midterm exam rolls and question and answers and stuff like that. So now our timelines are in sync. You completed your midterm exams, and your last advance should be instilled on your sheets and in your minds. Getting rid, let's just go down real briefly. Sophia got rid of a hindrance. Sophia is no longer deathly afraid of trees. Whatever that phobia is, and if there isn't such, there should be, and it should probably be called Sophia, evergreenophobia or some florophobia or something like that.
She'll find something else. Don't worry.
Um,
She'll have some other kind of trauma by the end of the year.
and I think Shep took another edge. Am I recalling correctly? One that was built upon your psychically sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the one that is Aura Reader. It's coming back
Correct.
to me now. And Ava, you went the route of increasing one of your attributes. I believe it was Spirit, was it not?
Spirit, yes.
You've got Spirit. Yes, you do. And the rest of you have Spirit, just not as much. Very good.
Some of us more.
We're all equally noodle arms. That's where we thrive. Noodle arms.
Yes. Although anyone skilled in engineering or the sciences or something like that can always compensate for the lack of strength. A good lever, a good pulley system, right?
A good flamethrower.
A good flamethrower could always help to balance out the lack of
a good spirit friend,
physical force.
Good spirit friend.
Absolutely. And just for flavor, we'll say that when that string, that long rainbow of flags occurred in your home, in your entrance foyer, we'll say Tante was present just long enough to look at it and sort of tilt her head in a very bemused fashion and looked at you and smiled and vanished without really portraying anything more than just a bit of amusement.
But that's a good thing, since she's supposed to protect me from evil spirits.
Yeah, she looked just sort of bemused. And we will also say, just as this is another good idea that goes into that Benny adjustment that starts this session, we talked about, were they strands of human hair? Were they from a wig that isn't really hair, but I don't know. What do they make wigs out of that aren't human hair? Rayon or something, or nylon, or
Acrylic? I don't know.
strands of. Well, you couldn't really tell.
It's
They-
rayon probably because
yeah.
you're not allowed to blow dry it for too long because
Uh,
it melts.
mm, okay. So since somebody had the idea that we'll have those strands identify, we'll say that they were indeed human hair and not, say, horsehair, like long hair from the tail of a horse that had been colored or dyed in some manner. No, it's truly human hair.
Okay, so there's no bald troll dolls anywhere.
Well, do they make bald troll dolls? I'm sure that if you had to find a child's toy, say, as a component for a ritual, and you had a little troll doll that some child had trimmed the hair off of, well, that would still be a fine ritual component. I'm sure you could find something like that. Um, I run so many of these games, it's probably not the child's toy that is a ritual component for one of your new
Uh,
rituals, but it might have been.
yeah, yeah, it was.
It was. Okay. Okay.
We also were told exactly that it couldn't be something brand new bought from a store. It had to be been a child's.
Right. It had to be possessed, loved, by a child
So
at
go to
some
a
point in
park, steal
time.
from a child. Got it.
Certainly any, 5-cent box at a local yard sale, or for 25 cents
Yeah.
at a consignment shop or secondhand store where the box of toys might be. That's where, well, the time stream is wrong, but if it was the current day, if you found two little Minions dolls or something like that,
Hmm.
certainly work. Just be very cognizant of the fact that if you endeavor to sort of cheat the ritual in some manner by using something that doesn't quite fit, um, things could go wrong. You were warned about one grave speak casting that went very wrong when somebody tried to sort of cheat the system. And
Abuelita has given us warnings.
Yes,
yes, yes.
plenty of them.
Abuelita's word
Mhm.
as rule.
Yeah,
Not messing with my Latin grandma.
Hmm.
mhm.
None of that.
Very good. So that was an important point. And yeah, let's just talk about those rituals. Ava mentioned the fact that you came across two such that were in your possession briefly, but long enough that you're able to recall some of the workings of said rituals. Was it two or was it three? It may have been three.
We
It
learned 3 of them.
mind reading,
I
and
put
then
them down in the notes and wrote down their little. Where I put them? Known ritual. Yeah, knowledge, wall walker, and mind reading. We also know the the dark the darkness. No, not the darkness spell. The seeing in darkness spell. I just don't remember what the actual name of it is.
dark
With the
sight.
hunt and the gold. Dark sight. I think. Yeah, I think that might have been what it was called. But
Very good.
yeah.
And wall walker. Yes, wall walker requires a kitten's tooth
Mm-hmm.
and also that child's toy that I mentioned.
And I want to say we got some components from Abuelita.
Indeed, she had some kitten's teeth, and her words to you were, I
Thank
believe there
goodness.
were, I believe there were three, that she
Yeah.
had a kitten that became a cat,
Hmm.
and these were the sort of the baby teeth that the kitten lost as her adult teeth were coming in. And one, you can tell, one of them has a wicked curved barb at the end. It looks a little bit like the edge of a fish hook, and that's the one that she stepped on. And she
Yeah.
remarked that it indeed Didn't feel too good. And any adult that has stepped on a sort of, I don't know, a Lego or something like that, and they're barefoot in the dark, can attest to the exquisite
Mhm.
pain that that brings. So sure, wall walker and some knowledge and
Hey, I can share my notes.
mind
That's
reading.
fun.
That is wonderful. Let's see if I can see it. Our known ritual. Oh, that is so nice. Fantasy Grounds is just a wonderful tool. I would,
Yeah.
So
I,
many notes.
I would love to meet these folks and game with them around a table. Let's say that may happen sometime in the future. We may do a, I don't know, like a Saturday game. Just meet somewhere at a, I don't know, at a hotel and rent a facility with a big table, like a
We'd
conference
order
room.
pizza.
We would order pizza. Pizza barn. There might be a pizza
Yeah.
barn. Oh,
Pizza barn.
oh, that's right. A thimbleful of earwax. The common ritual components are meant to be fun. You can have an adventure which is based upon acquiring some of the more unusual ones that aren't rare, such as there's one that is like a vial full of some sort of drug, and another is some piece of radioactive material. Some of those can be dangerous and really hard to acquire. But these common ones should be fun. They should be opportunities to role play, think outside the box, and come up with a way. How are we going to find a kitten's tooth? I mean, think about it. Maybe go to the SPCA and see if any kittens are available for adoption that have lost their teeth. We don't want to adopt
We,
a cat, but
we could foster kittens.
you could fo- you could foster
Fill the
kittens.
apartment with kittens.
Yeah.
Yes,
They'll cancel.
a,
They'll
The
s-
fifth room can be the cat haven.
a, s- a certain gothic wizard from another game would not like that solution.
So that keeps him away from this room. So that's a good thing.
Certain
Yeah.
vampire from another game has very conflicting feelings about cats right now.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
I wonder why.
Hey, all I have to say is
Oh, I blame you.
a certain vampire needs to be happy that a certain halfling likes to follow along to shop.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
That shenanigans was hilarious.
Wow. And I thought I'd be safe if I just stayed home and drank.
Nope.
My goodness.
Nope.
Okay, so we'll say it is Monday. It is Monday after class. There is a there is a, there is a tactile sense of relief as the students have that little break, that little period of downtime after those midterm exams, all the cramming and the frenetic searching for perhaps exams that a certain teacher may have given in the past. That need to get projects done. Your music majors performing their concerto pieces in front of a discerning group of graders. Those of you that write, your English majors, um, and anyone that has to do a paper, certainly. Um, Computer programmers, anyone in the computer sciences, having to put the finishing touches on their computer software that they've written, making sure that the unit tests are in place and they are documented and they work and reject inputs that their instructor will certainly try to break their code with, entering characters in fields that require numbers. Um, Chemistry, probably a big lab at the end. Perhaps something that you've worked on all throughout this semester, maybe growing crystals or some such. And certainly, Sophia, your art project, um, based on the flora of East Texas, all the growing things that you acquired and put together in a very pleasing artistic sense onto a piece of poster board to show the flora of Texas, put together in geometric patterns and such. In fact, everything on that, even though it was hued yellow, red, gold, green, brown, perhaps black, perhaps gray, mushrooms or something like that, everything did take a tinge of green for a brief march of hours before they turned back. So again, more magical shenanigans. Perhaps there was a ritual that was cast that went wrong, and that was the cause of it. Something like that.
Stop
Or
looking at me like that, Sophia.
who knows? Perhaps Mir has been dabbling in the ritualistic arts, and this was an attempt to do a little tomfoolery. Uh, it could
As
be
long as it's not that leprechaun in a bush.
that leprechaun in a bush. I do recall first semester, or yeah, first year, freshman year. I don't know what semester it was. I don't even know what we were doing at the time, but we walked by some bushes and there was like a little jingling sound, and it sounded like Gaelic kind of giggling, like
Mm-hmm.
high pitched with a a,
Yeah.
a a sort of a, was it a brogue, or
I
it
think it just
was
giggled.
it was so long ago,
I
like a
think it.
It's like the trees. Um, it was by one of the dorms, I think, or by the greenhouse that I remember there was like some weird laughter or
Mm,
giggling, and it's like some kind of weird fey creature stuff going on, and we were just like,
yeah.
oh no,
That's
no.
right. And we came up with a litany, as I was a player at that time. Corey was running. We came up with a litany of things it could be, and all the classic AD&D Fey critters. Could have been a sprite, could have been a pixie, could have been a leprechaun, could have been a nymph, could have been a sylph, could have been a dryad. We sort of ran the gamut, but we never really even found
I know. Yeah, no. It giggled.
footprints,
You never go after anything that's giggling
something like that.
in the dark.
That's fair. So we'll call it
It wasn't.
Monday. Could have been just about anything.
but oh yeah, who knows? We were too scared to go find out because I think we had just fought a chupacabra or something not that long ago. So
Yeah.
And that it was near. I can't remember if the bees came before or after the giggling, but
Yeah.
that's around the same area where we got attacked by the bees.
Johnny Shafe and his bees and
Yep.
wasps and creepy crawling centipedes and beetles and cockroaches. I think that
Oh,
that
they
that
pretty
came
much ate up
early.
some ROTC members that Sophia got over there.
Yes, that was
mm,
that was quite an incident. So the short of it is, we are post midterm exams. Congratulations on doing so well, and especially settling into all the unusual occurrences, as the dean has been just throwing things at you left and right, trying to set the stage for sophomore year and also the greater ETU plot point campaign, as well as some stuff that I just thought would be fun. Oh, like imps on the top of a water tower, just just for just for fun.
Just for fun.
Just as it is. So the Robert E. Lee Engineering Building. We'll call on Monday afternoon after classes are over. Again, I'll just re-emphasize the fact that there's a sense of relief and everyone seems cheerful and upbeat, glad to get over that first hurdle right in the middle of the fall term. What would you like to take to the Robert E. Lee Engineering and Applied Sciences building?
ah,
Blowtorch, Gatling gun, pressure suit.
I assume it's a place Ava probably frequents. I mean, it is she's a chemistry major, so the science
Mm-hmm.
area is probably where she spends most of her time. So, uh, I'm wondering if would she know of like maybe a lab where there might be things like base items that she could potentially use if things go south? Maybe. Like would I roll out maybe something like, oh yeah, there's a lab over here that has like uh propane tanks or like hand torches for like heating up chemicals.
Just running through here, this list of buildings. What jumps out at me is there is the Zelmanic Mathematics Center that has, of course, mathematics and applied mathematics classes. There is also the Melinda O'Brien Physical and Life Sciences building, various science related classes. This building has engineering classes.
Engineering. That sounds more like Chet's area.
Yeah, well, the Abramov Sciences building, Abramov, chemistry and biology classes and labs. I believe that is where you would spend the lion's share of your major related classes. The Abramov Sciences building. It's like the building that was named after like a Russian that sort of came and taught and stayed and requested asylum. R.E. Lee Engineering building, three-story stone building built in 1937, has several large classrooms. Military science courses are taught here. It's one of the buildings that is always on the docket, possibly for being torn down and replaced. Let's just have a common knowledge roll from the three of you. Let's see if any of you have stepped foot in this Robert E. Lee building. Oh,
Oh,
the pink bubblegum dies.
that makes sense.
That
Uh,
makes
She
sense.
doesn't need any science classes.
yeah. On your way over to the Robert E. Lee building, Sophia, you're completely unaware that you're actually guiding them to the Abramov Science Center. You're pretty sure that's the building that you want to go to.
It
Pretty,
has science in its name.
pretty sure. Yeah.
It has science.
Science.
Science is the same, Sophia.
Good,
What?
good heavens, Miss Sophia, you're beautiful. Thomas Dolby, Ava and Shep. Sure, there's probably anything engineering related that you would want is probably available. The more dangerous stuff may be locked in closets or um, storage rooms.
Well, that's when we brought Sophia.
Certainly, if you're looking for stuff to make chemical compounds out of, you're in the wrong building. This is not likely to have a chemical pantry on each floor, for example. But you are very innovative, and anything you think might be in this building, you can certainly surmise that is probably available. I'm thinking anything that you would use to build, those classic models. I have to build a bridge out of uh, throat cough throat
Oh,
suppressors,
like popsicle
popsicle
sticks?
sticks, right? It has to be able to uh, absorb 25 pounds of pressure placed upon it. Anything you would use to build
The physics labs.
a model like that. Um, Studies in structural integrity. So certainly metal, strips of metal. I'm thinking of kind of like erector set components, but more for the college age student, something that would demonstrate sound construction and building principles. And anything, how many are there? 7 or 9 classic simple machines, the lever, for example, um, pulleys, stuff like that. So anything that you could probably think could apply to engineering, along with furniture. Sometimes the best thing you can do is pick up a piece of furniture or a fire suppression extinguisher.
Cool physics stuff. Like bridge making and what?
Yeah,
Anything
definitely
like
not
that.
the biotech engineering.
No,
Mm.
no. Certainly books, a good thick textbook can both provide you a little bit of a shield. You hold it up in front of you, or you could,
Right.
even with noodly arms, you could hurl such discus style, frisbee style, and attempt to knock something out of somebody's hands, or if nothing else, I would apply a distracted or similar condition if you really walloped them good. So we'll say the Robert E. Lee building. Sophia, you're convinced it's the wrong building. Um,
It doesn't have pretty pictures on it.
I believe there is a statue on the left and the right as you would ascend the cement stairs into the building. And we'll say that the statues have a certain professorial bearing to them. A man that looks a little bit like the Monopoly man, with the top hat, well dressed,
Monocle and a mustache.
something like that. Yeah, a little thick mustachio and sort of a well dressed turn of the century tuxedo, is looking at his hand, and it looks like he has like a stopwatch with a fob, and he is gesturing, baiting you to enter. And there's similarly an austere turn of the century dressed female who is looking at a small book. And although she is not looking at you, she's looking at the book. She is also gesturing, baiting you to enter the halls of learning, as it were. And there is no placard at the bottom of these statues. They seem to not be based on anyone that is a true historical figure, unlike those 6 statues at the entrance of the Lansdale Fine Arts Building, where one statue is a wildcatter, an early explorer looking for oil. Another is the original impresario who, with between 70 and 100 families, showed up in this area to attempt to start a settlement. There was an old author, Mary Blackstone, sort of your Call of Cthulhu-esque type of author, um, who is also represented there, as she is sort of local, almost like if you were in Baltimore, Edgar Allan Poe could sort of be thought as one of the, I don't know, one of the creative muses, or you know someone you would see a statue of. So Mary Blackstone, I believe that is her name. I could be mistaken, but I think that's true. But these just tend to be just symbolically representing teachers that are enticing you to enter. This 3-story building, the first story has long windows that look like maybe the first story has higher ceilings than the classrooms, rooms, storage rooms on the second and third story of this 3-story structure. Doesn't seem to have a basement, to either of your recollections, Ava or Shep, with a success, each of you having rolled a 5, and Savage Worlds a 4 is a success, your target number, generally speaking. So the first story windows reach floor to ceiling. They're very tall and narrow. Second and third story windows, a few of them still have lights on, um, but some of them appear to be dark. And it is generally true that a week ago, let's say before midterm exams, there would have been far more lights on. The only lights that you seem to think might be on now would be perhaps the odd graduate student or teacher's aide grading papers or projects. Um, Perhaps some computer programming is going on. And of course, the janitorial staff, always trying to keep even the old buildings, the more rundown buildings here at East Texas University, spick and span and clean, and as clean as it can be.
Mm.
Certainly, you do look up and see occasionally someone pass in front of one of these windows, perhaps pausing to look outside as the exterior safety lights that illuminate the walking path that generally leads from the place where the buildings are over to the place where most of the dorms are, generally illuminates those. And there are every so often an emergency box where one could call for help. And just be aware that anytime, 24/7, no questions asked, if you feel unsafe about walking anywhere on this campus, all you have to do is call. I think East Texas University campus security is based on the ground floor of one of the women's dorms. I think it might be the Kirchman dorm, the Kirchman Towers, but they will send someone to escort anyone, male, female, a small group, it doesn't matter, from point A to point B if they just don't feel safe walking alone anytime, day or night. It's just one of the safety measures put in place here, probably by Professor Nelson, I'd imagine. And that 6S phrase, stay in sight, seek shelter. And I always forget what the other one is, but it's similar. It's something that is impressed upon everybody the first week, especially for those incoming freshmen. So yeah, you're looking at the R.E. Lee building. It's tall. Perhaps it was grandiose at one time. Now it just appears to just sort of run together in your mind with all the other classroom buildings here on campus.
And it is later in the evening. Yes? Or
Yeah,
is
we'll
it
say it's after dinner.
Thursdays?
We'll say it's after dinner. Boy, it was a shame that bag of leftover Burger City hamburgers got crushed because
Real sad.
oh,
Oh boy.
would have
Those
been good.
burgers.
And I'm sure there were the
Um, well, if it's Monday, it's been a while since we had those.
yeah
Yeah,
yeah
right. But that don't mean we can't order some next time.
yeah. I'd imagine Ava, that clown makes you a little unnerved. The Burger City clown is kind of it's kind of one of those clowns that has face paint that make it look smiling, but it's got like those vertical lines through its eyes above and below, and it it appears happy, but it's still a bit unnerving if you're one that finds clowns to be scary, scary.
If she's afraid of guys, she would most definitely be afraid of clowns, as most clowns are also
Right,
creepy men. Just just it just enforces her fears. Man, what a life like to live scared of all these things.
indeed.
Hopefully, there's no clowns in the school, guys. Oh boy,
Clown college.
clown college.
Say
Class
you're
clown.
fine.
I would say the only clown that didn't frighten you was when Erica dressed up as a clown to go entertain the children's ward at
That's
the
because
Golden
Erica
County Memorial.
frightens me.
But she, it was like if somebody made a hybrid clown cowboy, that's kind of what you came up with because Erica was wearing a cowboy hat and chaps and
Oh my
cowboy
gosh.
boots, and underneath that
Erica
was her clown costume, and just
Erica's one of those clowns from the big comfy couch.
I love that
Wonderful.
show.
she's a
She's
very
adorable. Yes. That was adorable. Damn, that was a throwback for me. Holy moly.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. she see the difference with Erica is that she already knows who Erica is as well.
hmm
It helps when you know who's under the paint.
It really does. It humanizes.
I have a strong urge to draw me an Erica in clown.
You know that anything that has to do with the kids,
It's cute though.
she's going to be all for it. And
I'm down for that.
you know, if it gets her a little extra credit in her very very difficult pre med program, then she is similarly all for it. And let's see, I've got the chalkboard here, but did I not set up the sort of center of the user interface? What's it called? It's not under chat. Is it under game decal image? Did I? Smiteworks, Suede, Study Group, Pine Box. Please, 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 please. Aha, the campus map. And there it is. And there it is. Just for grins and giggles, let's say that R.E. Lee is number 19. I don't think I can really point anything out, but it is in the leftmost one third of the map along that row of similarly shaped buildings. Building 16 on the top, I think that is President Nelson's manor, the president's manor. Looks very much like an old plantation building. Three buildings beneath that would be 19, would be your Robert E. Lee Center. So it's right between two of the buildings, buildings 15 and 23, which are open 24 hours a day. The library is number 23, and the student center. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. 23 is indeed the Sam Rayburn Library. I was looking at 15. Well, that is the administration building. But I think buildings 23 and 6, which are about on the same latitude, are the ones that are open 24 hours a day. And I know it's 6 because it has that little courtyard area with the trees in the middle that has very odd acoustic conditions where it's set up such that if you're in one of the corners and if you speak something in just a conversational tone, just the acoustics carry to the other far corner. So students go there and entertain themselves by sort of talking in the one corner and seeing the student several feet away. It should in no manner hear what was said, reacting to clowning. Who's that student, in the corner, with the big
Clowning around.
clowning around, or
Clowning around.
with the big red nose or something like that,
Oh man.
something crazy like that. So yeah, Fantasy Grounds lets you build these decals, and by default you get a couple of them. But I added a few more. I learned how to unpack the zip file and do a little quick
Nice.
XML editing, and added those to the zip file just for such an occurrence because it would have taken me forever to find and port in the campus map. So in front of the Robert E. Lee building, it's a clear night. It had rained a lot recently, but it's not bad right now. It's not bad for the first time in a tiny march of days. You can see the moon, although there are some clouds passing in front of it. You do see a bright moon, providing a little extra illumination atop the lights along the pathways. You do see an ETU security guard go by on one of those little golf carts.
Yeah.
Looks like he's probably going and locking down some of the buildings that close a little bit early and just doing the rounds, as it were.
Okay. So there's kind of sort of a patrol. Kind of sort of. Uh I hmm. We don't know much from what Glenn Mack mentioned besides that there was something weird going on within the building itself. So perhaps um unless this also is linked to that weird vision that you had, Shep, with the
Ugh,
Tesla-like electricity thing.
that's what I'm afraid of.
And if that's the case, then uh, I'm going to rely on you, I guess, to point out if something looks familiar from your vision.
If we see big giant machines that are arcing electricity from one side to the other with a
Yeah.
guy hanging in the middle, then yeah, it's no bueno.
That's
Okay.